Welcome back to Mideast In-Depth, part of Levant TV's Press Review. Today we will be discussing Syria. Associated Press is featured in a report in the Washington Post explaining the timeline of what the paper refers to as the Syrian uprising. March 2011 protests erupted in the city of Daraa over security forces' detention of a group of boys accused of painting anti-government graffiti on the walls of their school. And on March the 18th, security forces opened fire on a protest in this southern city. April 2011 witnessed security forces raiding a sit-in in Syria's third largest city of Homs. And in August 2011, President Barack Obama calls on President Assad to resign and orders Syrian government assets frozen. And in July, a bombing at the Syrian National Security Building in Damascus during a high-level government crisis meeting killed 4 top officials. And in the same summer that year, rebels seized control of about half of the city, leaving much of Aleppo in ruins. And in August, Kofi Annan quits as UN Arab League's envoy after his attempts to broker a ceasefire failed. And in November, the Syrian National Coalition was created. And in 2013, the article looks at the following events. In March, the UN registered Syrian refugees tops 1 million, half of them being children. And in May and June, the Syrian army recaptured the strategic town of Qusayr near the border with Lebanon. And in June, US officials claimed that the Syrian army had used chemical weapons against the opposition. President Obama authorized direct support for the rebels. And in August and September 2013, a chemical weapons attack in Damascus suburbs kills hundreds. And in October, Syria destroys its chemical weapons production equipment. The number of Syrian refugees registered with the UN tops 2 million. And in 2014, in January, the first batch of toxic chemicals was shipped out of Syria. And in February, 2 rounds of peace talks led by the UN Arab League mediator Lakhdar al-Ibrahimi in Geneva ended without a breakthrough. And in March, Syrian rebels launched an offensive in the coastal province of Latakia, capturing the border point with Turkey and the Syrian town of Qasab. And in April, Syrian troops captured Rankous, the last major town in the strategic Kalamoun mountain that borders Lebanon. Rebels withdrew from the old quarter of the central city of Homs in May. And also in May, al-Ibrahimi resigns as UN Arab League's envoy to Syria. Syria voted in June the 3rd to elect one of 3 candidates running in the presidential elections, a vote President Assad is widely expected to win. Also on Syria, Tyler Huffman writes in Al-Monitor about the West's reaction on the momentum that President Assad is gaining throughout the election. The writer reports on a government official saying facts confirm that the West will accept the election results and deal with it as a fait accompli. The situation with the Europeans in this regard is better. You can go to one of the most luxurious, well-known hotels in Damascus, only a few hundred meters from where we are now, and see the movement of European visitors staying there. All main European countries are sending delegates periodically without notification or announcement. They come under the guise of security cooperation and coordination on the issue of extremists and jihadists who come from their countries to fight in Syria. They ask for information and show good intentions to cooperate to combat terrorism in their countries. And after addressing the Americans and Europeans, the Syrian officials spoke on the positions of states in neighboring Syria who said, "There is no problem at all in Iraq. President al-Maliki will return and our mutual security and military coordination will continue, supporting the interests of both countries. The situation with the Lebanon is excellent, especially after the Kalamoun battle and the entire border was closed to the infiltration of militants." The anonymous government official added Jordan has begun to complain about the smuggling of weapons and jihadists to its territory. As for Turkey, this is a different subject that requires independent research. Turkey will suffer greatly from its involvement against us. Many things and faces will change in Ankara, and the relationship between our countries will not return to normal before this happens. And after addressing the political and diplomatic scene, the official sighed and said, "What's left to discuss is developments on the ground, which are much better than the political developments. This is evidenced by the results of the latest foreign delegation's visit to Damascus." 5 things to know about Tuesday's election in Syria was the title of an Associated France Press article published in various newspapers. Let's have a look at the one in the Times Union online newspaper. The writer first explains what does the election mean, and the government has presented the election as the solution to the conflict. If the people re-elect President Assad, the fight should end, but if he loses, he will gracefully step aside. In reality, the vote puts to rest any illusions that the man who has led Syria since 2000 has any intention of relinquishing power or compromising to reach a political solution, but rather he appears emboldened by military victories in recent months that have strengthened his grip on power. The article then explains the logistical framework. Balloting is expected in all major cities except for Raqqa in the northeastern Syria, which is completely under the control of the Al-Qaeda breakaway group Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, the ISIS. Turnout is expected to be the highest in government strongholds, including the capital Damascus and the coastal provinces of Tartus and the Assad family's ancestral heartland of Latakia. As to the opposition's reaction, the main Western-backed opposition group, the Syrian National Coalition, is boycotting the vote. The group's president, Ahmed al-Jarba, has urged the international community to arm the Syrian rebels. The so-called internal Syrian opposition groups seen as more lenient are also boycotting. Opposition fighters have warned they will try to disrupt the vote with attacks, causing thousands of people to flee government-held Syrian cities in recent days. And the fourth point is the status of millions of refugees. Syrian authorities have said that only those who have entered neighboring countries legally could vote, but Lebanon warns Syrian refugees registered with the UN will lose their refugee status if they return home to vote. And finally, the article looks at the expectations of the vote. If there is high voter turnout in government-controlled territory, President Assad will be able to claim renewed legitimacy based on continued support from a significant section of the population. He is likely to regard the vote as a green light for his military campaign to crush the insurgency, while working on local truces and reconciliation to pacify rebel-held areas. That was it for today. For more updates, please visit levant.tv. Thanks for watching and bye for now.